Minister, as you already know, we're way behind target in opening or in getting approval of the Rural Development Plan. Now, can you confirm when you expect to get the letters for comfort? And I'm not asking about the full plan being agreed, because we understand you're going to get approval for a letter for comfort. Can you tell us, have you got this, or when are you now likely to get it? And as a result of that, will that cover all schemes, in other words, genomics, GLAS, TAMS, discussion groups, health schemes, LEADER, etc., or will it be scheme specific when you get these letters of comfort? So maybe you could outline for us when you now expect to be able to announce the opening of the various schemes.
Minister.
Well, first of all, I see in the media today, Deputy, that you're looking to try and change the whole structure of Pillar 1 payments. I mean, if we tried to do that, we'd still be here next year trying to get a letter of comfort. But we are close to getting agreement with the Commission at this stage. The commitment, well, the intention to try and get a letter of comfort by the middle of next month, in my view, is still on track. That is when we anticipate we'll be able to get a letter of comfort. But there is very intense negotiations going on today, as there was yesterday, as there was last week. Don't forget, we're not only negotiating with the Agricultural Commission, but we're also with the Commissioner for the Environment and Climate Change and so on. So I hope to be able to get agreement finalised in principle on the detail of GLAS in the next few days, if at all possible, so we can open that scheme in advance of getting a letter of comfort next month. And then when we get a letter of comfort next month on all of the RDP, not just individual schemes, that is the intention, to try and get that. If something goes wrong in the meantime, I'll be upfront about it. Look, we are working night and day to try and get this done, but we have a big partner in the Commission that needs to be satisfied. They are, and when you consider that of the 118 rural development programmes that they have at the moment, only 9 of them have been approved, and most of those are much smaller, much simpler schemes than what we have. You can understand why we need to push as hard as we are. So, I want to thank the Commission for their help on this, because they are swamped. They have lots of countries pushing to try and get rural development programmes across the line. We will continue to work as best we can with the Commission to try and reassure them. We're very close, in my view, to doing that on the big schemes and on the small ones, and I would be hopeful that we will be able to get our letter of comfort, Deputy, by the middle of March, which would allow us then start to open the schemes in a staggered way after that.
Thank you, Deputy Cuív.
Minister, can you confirm the report in Agriland that says that 18 further rural development programmes were approved in the last few days, bringing the number to 9 and 18, or 27. Now, the second thing is, do I understand you as saying here today that between now and the end of this month, that you hope to have a letter of comfort for GLAS specifically, and that you hope to be able to open that scheme between now and the end of this month, and then for the rest of the schemes that will be sometime mid-March? Or are you saying that GLAS won't open now in February and that it is too going to open in March? Because I would put it to you, Minister, that would you agree that in the event of it not opening until March, that it's unlikely, under the system you are pursuing, that any payment will be made to any farmer under GLAS in 2015?
Thank you, Minister.
Well, I'm glad you raised that issue, because let me be crystal clear on this. We are going to open GLAS in February. Okay? We are not seeking, nor will we get, a separate letter of comfort for GLAS. What we will have is an understanding with the Commission on the detail of GLAS, with an exchange of emails and so on. And we have a lot of face-to-face meetings with the officials in the Commission in order to get across the line, and we are very close to being there, the detail of what GLAS will look like, so that we can then formally open GLAS for farmers to be able to take planners on, to put their plans in place, understanding the detail of the application process in terms of what they have to do. And while that process is going on, we will be continuing to work with the Commission to get our letter of comfort, which will cover glass and everything else, by at some stage in the second half of next month, hopefully in the middle of next month, so that we can start to open other schemes on the back of that letter of comfort. I have made the decision to open glass for applications in advance of that letter of comfort.
Thank you, Mr.
But only if we can get the agreement with the Commission in terms of the detail of glass, so that we can anticipate the letter of comfort and also allow farmers to get the application process underway.
Thank you.
For the very reason you've outlined, Deputy. We need to get applications in, we need to get planners working, we need to get farmers planning for their glass applications, so that we can get the application process done by the summer, so that we can open the scheme in the autumn.
Can I thank the Minister for the clarification? Can he confirm that it's now expected to announce glass next Friday or next Saturday down in Castlebar? Can I also ask you whether you would consider to allow early access into glass, at least allowing farmers in Tier 1 and Tier 2 to access it on a first-come, first-served basis, and in that way allow them off and get a significant payment this year? Because would you agree, Minister, that it is highly, highly unlikely that the number of Tier 1 and Tier 2 farmers will exceed your threshold of 30,000 farmers that you're going to let in this year anyway? Now, I would prefer a first-come, first-served basis this year because you're so late. But even on a limited basis of Tier 1 and Tier 2, would you accept or consider allowing them in on a first-come, first-served basis? In other words, you get in a plan, and if they're in Tier 1 and Tier 2, that you'd allow them off immediately, and that you get payments made. And would you accept, if you don't do that, that you won't spend the 20 million you've set aside in this year's budget for the glass scheme?
Minister, final reply.
Yeah. Deputy, I mean, if you think about the practicalities of this for a second, if I was to announce today that farmers would be accepted into glass, would be accepted into glass on a first-come, first-served basis, with 30,000 farmers being allowed in, we'd have absolute chaos in terms of the application process. We'd have massive pressure on planners to be the first in. The thing would be totally unmanageable, and you know that as a former minister that has managed schemes like this before. If you're going to have a scheme like this where you're, and I can never remember, including in reps, 30,000 farmers coming into a scheme in one go, right? So we have to leave a sufficient window to allow planners to put plans together for their clients, for farmers, in an orderly manner, to make sure that that the application process is properly managed. Otherwise, we're going to have plans that are flawed, they're going to be rushed, people will be disqualified, and they shouldn't be, and we'll have appeals and all the rest of it.
Thank you, Minister.
What we're trying to do here is have an orderly opening of a 5-year scheme and getting as many farmers in as we can in Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3, where farmers come in under Tier 3.
Thank you, Minister.
And the only way to do that, in my view, is to be very clear on when the opening date is and when the closing date is, to give people space and time to get their applications together, and then we'll assess them all fairly and equally, and we'll announce who's in and who's out in that process.